There was a moment. First of all, it ain't for everybody. You're absolutely right. And that's where the art of medicine comes in. Like, I don't just come in and go, "Hey, let's do a song. Hey there." No, that's not it at all. It's not at
I
all.
know you don't know me, but before we get into the chemo, here's a little song from the Beatles.
Jim Breuer.
Jim
Breuer.
Jim Breuer.
Jim Breuer.
Jim Breuer.
Hey, this is Jim Breuer.
Hello, Michael.
What's up, man? Not used to seeing you this late for recording.
No, I know. I almost, you know how tempted it was to be not just like rock into the night when it's. So the last time we saw each other, then I went and met a lawyer about some stuff, and then simple stuff like just life stuff, and then after that, went and had dinner. I was so tempted. My wife's gone for the day in our friend's boat, and this could really start. But I was a good boy. I'm very proud of myself. I'm very ready for this. So our guest today, it's very unique, his approach to medicine and his approach to dealing with patients, in particular, I believe, cancer patients. It reminds me of, if you guys know the movie Patch Adams, where Robin Williams plays his character, where he's a doctor, but he takes this whole different, it's more about lifting the spirit, and he notices making the kids laugh and stuff like this, where Dr. Steven Eisenberg actually goes for the singing aspect of it and singing to certain patients. He's an author of Love is the Strongest Medicine, which I can't deny that. I don't think anyone really can deny that. And I think it's underestimated. I really think it's underestimated the power of just loving someone. So let's just bring on Dr. Steven Eisenberg, as some people call him the singing doctor. What's up, Doc? Where are you right now? Where are you right now?
San Diego.
But like in your house?
Yeah, this is my I don't know what to call it. Creativity room?
Yeah.
This is my studio. This is my studio,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where all your instruments and stuff are. So
Yeah, instruments, lava lamps, didgeridoo from Australia. I love that you went to Australia and hang out with the Aborigines. That's what I did, but I made my whole trip about learning this. When I went to Australia, I became fascinated with the whole Aborigine culture, and I didn't know exactly what was going to happen when I was there. I was just meeting up with this woman that my college roommate Freddie and I had met when we were in Europe. And oh, if you're ever in Australia, come visit us. So there was no internet back then. It was like beep, boop, boop, beep to Australia. I'm going to be in Australia. Can we hang out? And so, yeah, I went to Australia. She put me up at her place for a few nights. And then I was on my own, and I found this, and I went out to learn how to play this. And I wasn't going to come home until I learned it. And when you know what they say, Jim, first of all, hi, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? How you doing?
They say you do not play the didgeridoo. This is what the Aborigine say. You do not play the didgeridoo. The didgeridoo gets played through you.
Ah, okay. So,
yeah, I'm going to play it for you.
Yeah, knock it out.
Okay. This is a good way to start out. Okay.
This is a first. I love it.
Okay. It's going right into the mic, so be careful. Watch your ears.
Yeah. So now
the Breuniverse. So it's circular breathing. So you got to go.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I made it my point to learn it because it's so important to their culture. It's like,
Yeah.
anyway, didgeridoo.
Well, so when you say you went to study them, what'd you do exactly?
Well, I didn't know that I was going there to study the didgeridoo and to immerse myself in Aborigine culture. I
Yeah.
went to go see Selena, and 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 then the whole trip shifted when, much like you, I wanted to learn.
Right.
And life's all about learning, right? The best thing a doctor could ever do is listen. So I listened to the Aborigines that I met. They don't have doctors the way that I'm a doctor, the way that I treat people with cancer. And at the time I was like just out of med school and trying to figure out what to do, where I was going. And
Yeah.
they had a lot to do with how I ended up working in with cancer patients, because I was like, what field could I make a difference in? Where could I make any kind of difference using my stuff that and it seemed to be when people were at their most scared. When you hear those words, you have cancer. And so I wanted to do something where I could make a difference, much the way that the Aboriginal culture made a difference for me during that trip. And my whole perspective changed. And then out of that trip, I said, I'm going to do oncology, because I think that's where I could make the biggest difference when people are facing life and death and thinking, what does all this mean? Why are we here? You know,
Right.
and yeah, so thanks for having me, first of all.
You're very welcome. So you go and meet the Aborigines, and so did you spend time with them, or it's just like kind of a distant thing and learning about them, and then you understood that, and then that launched you into, so you studied to be a doctor, but not a cancer doctor.
Not yet. No, I didn't know I was going to
Okay.
do it yet.
So from there, you want to help people, and you go into the cancer world. And did you already know, like, oh, I'm going to try music on people, or were you already thinking that, or no?
I knew that I knew two things, Jim. Two things. It's all I knew when I was going through med school, that I knew that music and laughter had to be part of whatever I was going to do. That's just the truth of it. And I made a pact with myself. I was like, if you go to med school, don't give up on the dream of bringing music and laughter to people who need it the most. I didn't know it was going to be cancer patients. I didn't know it was going to be people who are facing the worst news of their life, the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
I just knew that I didn't want to give up on that part of my life. Like, I had to incorporate it somehow. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I knew that I would come home from a horrible day, stressed out beyond belief, and I'd just pick up my guitar and strum a few chords, and then it would relax. I could be myself again. My humanity would start to creep back in, because the system can the system can rock your world and take that humanity out of you, going through meds training and all that. So that's all I knew at the time. Music and laughter had to be part of my medicine, or I wasn't going to do it.
When you say stuff like, you said the system can really break down humanity. What do you mean by that? So you're a doctor and you say the system that you're coming from, it really can break down your humanity and create a lot of stress for you and doctors like that. What do you refer, like, what do you mean?
Well, the healthcare system and the way we train doctors, um, the way that we're supposed to live by the Hippocratic oath, and we end up working so hard that the rates of burnout are, 50% of doctors are
Hmm.
completely burned out. We're higher rates of suicide, alcoholism, escapism. We want to escape the life of being a doctor any way possible. And
Yeah.
one of my missions of many, but one is that's really important to me is trying to alleviate that burnout and to teach other doctors simple things they can do to try and alleviate burnout. But the system is crazy. We're thrown into this system with all the paperwork, all the red tape, all of the the stuff of being a doctor, and you can lose that sense of why I went into it for the first place, to help people, to be with people, to hear their suffering, to alleviate their suffering. All of the things that we say at the interviews are slowly, it's like The Godfather. As soon as I try to get out, they keep pulling me back in. They pull out your humanity because you're up all night. You're writing these notes. You're the electronic medical record. You're drowning in it, and slowly but surely, things are starting to turn around, Jim. I'm telling you, we're at a turning point in medicine. But that's what I mean by the system. The system it can kill you.
So are you still in the quote system right now?
I'm way in it.
You're way in it.
I'm fully in it. I'm fully 100% in it. I'm full-time practice, but I never gave up on the Breuniverse, meaning the creativity. You can't give up on that. And that's what I try to bring to other doctors, that they can share their gifts with their patients and themselves, that you don't have to lose it all as when you go through this, even as a cancer doctor, which is it's a hard profession. It's a hard specialty.
I would imagine. I would assume there's a moment that may have kind of a little light bulb goes off, or aha moment. Was it a particular person or a particular patient that you had where when does either the singing come in or music come in? How does it even get there?
There was a moment, and you're right. First of all, it ain't for everybody. You're absolutely right. And that's where the art of medicine comes in. Like, I don't just come in and go, "Hey, let's do a song. Hey there." No, that's not it at all. It's not it at all.
I know you don't know me, but we're gonna get into this. Before we get into the chemo, here's a little song from the Beatles. We're doing for the 7 hour. Here we go. Yeah.
I'll tell you the origin story real quick, and then I'll tell you how it really goes down. So I'm back from Australia. I'm starting my internship, and I'm in Philly, deep in Philly, South Philly, and there's my
South UPenn,
PCOM.
Okay,
PCOM, and I'm in a hospital, St. Agnes in South Philly. And Dr. Similaro is my boss, and we have to go to morning report. But I'm up all night with this wonderful woman who's dying of lung cancer, and her dying wish was she wanted to hear her favorite song from Sinatra.
Wow!
And I got on the phone. I called all her family, and they brought her boom box. They brought her CDs. They're CDs, right? And they brought her CDs, and it was a beautiful moment. And the family all came in, and she's slowly, slipping away, but everyone was singing. Everyone was singing Sinatra. She was surrounded by all of her loved ones and this music. And I saw how it brought her so much joy and so much peace in those moments. And I just knew I had an inkling, this is important. Music has to be it's such a healing modality. Music and laughter and music. How am I going to do this? And so I just knew that it brought so much love to her in those moments. I call my book, Love is the Strongest Medicine.
Yep.
Because it was love that allowed her to have peace at the end. And so I saw how much music meant to her and how much peace it brought to her. And then I ran back to Similaro and, "Why are you late, man? Why are you late?" And I was getting in trouble because I would miss the morning report. I came in halfway through. In Similaro, he talks sort of like Rocky,
Yeah.
"Why are you late, Eisenberg?" And I said, I gave him the story, and he said, you can be late for that because you just showed that, your patient meant more to you than, being here exactly at, 8 a.m. So it was important that was the aha moment. And then when I got really sick when I was a young oncologist, I became so stressed out and so burned out that I myself, the oncologist, I became the patient. I developed migraines and all kinds of symptoms and body body aches and horrible symptoms. And at the same time this was all happening, I was so stressed out about trying to be number one oncologist guy. I'm going to
Right.
beat everybody. I'm going to be the number one oncologist, the most productive, make my partners proud. I was a young guy in the practice,
Yeah.
but I stressed myself out so badly. There was a contest that came up on my email from one of my favorite musicians. Write a story of how Peter's music has influenced you. The musician's name is Peter Himmelman, great musician. He's Bob Dylan's son-in-law. Anyway, I wrote a story about how his music has influenced me. And it was called Mission of My Medicine, based on a song of his called Mission of My Soul. And it was about how his music would bring me through the toughest nights. 3 a.m, I would listen to this song after going to see somebody in the middle of the night, drinking an Ensure to try to stay up and get some nutrition.
Right.
I won the contest. And the contest was, if you win the contest, the prize was Peter writes a song about you.
Huh.
So here I am, feeling horrible, feeling bad about myself, feeling all this stress-related symptoms. And he writes me a song based on what I had written in the story. And it changed my life so much. Here I am hearing a 2.5 little minute ditty about what brings me joy, what brings me love in my life. And I can send you the song. It's beautiful. And so that was the second aha moment. Because I started to feel better. It changed my perspective. I started to say, you know what? F this. This is not the kind of, I didn't sign up to be a stress ball. I signed up to make a difference. I'd forgotten about laughter in medicine and music. So then that brought it all back, and I decided I'm going to write songs, original songs based on what my patients love and brings them joy, so they remember that they're not the cancer. So I do a little songwriting session. I say, Jim, how'd you meet Dee? Tell me about what you were like as a child. Tell me about how everything, how did you get into stand-up? And then that turns into the Breuniverse song.
Right.
And it's 2 minutes, and it becomes a little reminder, a little nudge that they're not their cancer. And so that's the song. It's not, hey, let's do the,
Right.
coming at you. It's not that.
Right.
It's an original song that people can they can have as their little anthem. That's all it is.
So, Doug Steven, so the first time you try this, I would assume you remember the exact patient, because
I do. Yeah.
And how do you approach this? Do you tell them you're going to write them a song? As you're getting to know them, like, do you ask, like, what's the approach? Hey man, do you mind? I just want to write a song. I write songs if that's cool with you.
The first one,
how do you?
yeah. The first one was easy because he was a piano teacher and he loved music, and he had prostate cancer. His name was Charles, but everyone called him Chucky. He had a one-man show in Vegas for a while. And the story goes that one of his biggest fans died in a drunk driving accident, and it floored him. He left Vegas, came back to San Diego, and became the number one piano teacher in all of San Diego. But I met him, when he had prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And we would talk about music after we did all the medical stuff. We would talk about the healing power of music.
Mm.
And so the first one was easy because it was Chucky, and the song was called Teaching Me, and it talked about the transition from being on the stage to giving back to his students, teaching them piano. And then the song shifts into how he taught me that I could do this because he was so open to it. And and I remember when he was on hospice, the prostate cancer got worse. We had him really stable for years, but then, as it does many times, stage 4 cancer can get worse, and it did. And he was on his hospice bed, and it was time to play the song. I went to his house. His wife was there, and the tears are flowing down both their eyes as I'm doing the lyrics and playing the chords. And I knew at that point, Jim, that this was the most important moments of my doctorhood. That because it was off the book, it was off. It wasn't during office hours. It was during my personal time, and they loved it, and it changed me. And he said, I feel so validated. I feel a sense of peace. And I know this song will live on when I'm gone.
Wow.
And
so that was, you knew from there. So let me ask you this.
That changed everything. That moment with Chucky.
Charles.
Yeah.
So I would assume, did you record a bunch of these songs? Did you record any of them?
Yeah, I got some recorded for sure. And
so can people
some are out there? No, I mean these are very personal. I have these are not available to the general public, but you know, they're so, I guess for many reasons, because of I don't know, HIPAA and all that, but there's no identifiers. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I haven't released an album of patient songs, but I have
that's not on your list to do. It's not, you're more of the sing for them.
It's for them. It's for them, and it's for me too, because it makes me remember why I became a doctor.
Right.
And
so
and I'm just trying to show people that, and especially doctors, nurses, anyone in healthcare, that when you can embrace your creativity, it doesn't have to be songwriting. For me,
it could be
whatever.
Yeah,
it can be whatever. It could be just sitting down and watching an episode, a clip, a funny clip, or listening to their favorite song with them.
Right.
It's just a shared moment of connection. It's about connection. And that's what's missing, I think, in medicine.
Have you noticed some of the medicine that is supposedly showing up that's curing cancer that no one ever even looked into? Is that starting to pop up in the doctor world, or are they still on the regimen of chemo and chemo and chemo?
We try not to do chemo unless it's absolutely needed. Now, when we're talking about cancer, we're talking about 200 distinct diseases. So you got to break it down into, what everyone, it's so personalized right now. So it's like, what kind of cancer, what stage cancer? For example, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has something called chronic myelogenous leukemia. It's very, he goes around and speaks about it. He takes a pill. 50 years ago, you would die from this. Now, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar takes a pill every day, and his leukemia is in complete remission because it blocks what's called the Philadelphia chromosome. When part of 9 switches with chromosome 21, the pill fixes that. No more leukemia.
Wow.
That changes everything. So we want that for every disease. And then now we have immunotherapy. We've got all kinds of biologics. So cancer is going through a major, major renaissance. So it's like, what mutation is causing the cells to proliferate? Find the mutation, create a drug that targets that one mutation, and it's now personalized oncology. And so there's still horrible diseases out there. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4 lung cancer that doesn't have mutations. Then it's chemo. But you can have lung cancer that has an EGFR mutation now and take a pill, and it can, in many cases, melt away. So it's incredible what's happening in oncology right now. It's one of my partners who just retired, Edward McClay, great guy. He's a melanoma expert. And he said, I got to stay in oncology for 10 more years because I couldn't do anything with melanoma forever. And now I can cure them. Stage 4
Wow.
melanoma. You know, it's what Jimmy Carter had. And that's why he lived so long. He was getting immunotherapy. He lived longer than everyone ever thought he would because we're doing so much better now, Jim. But still, there's horrible diseases. There's horrible
Sure.
types of cancer. So it's all so individualized. That's why it's never cookbook. It's never cookbook medicine. It's what can we do for that individual patient. And that goes back to the songs. Like I said, it's not for everyone. It's got to come
Right.
out naturally. But nowadays, some people come in and go, where's my song, Eisenberg? Like they know, but not everyone. But some people do that, and that's easy because I go, sure, we can do it. Let's pick a time when we wipe out the cancer. We'll do it. We'll do a celebration song.
Well, that was the thing I was going to ask you too. So it's not always they're on the way out. It
It could be anyone.
It could be anytime. Some people are healed and they're still thriving. My wife takes the immunotherapy, and then she takes pills every day now. I think it was 2000. I mean, she's doing great. She went to UPenn.
Good.
Yeah, she went to UPenn, and she had the BRCA gene. It was metastasized everywhere. After
I know
the third
what she's
time,
on. She's probably on Lynparza.
probably yes.
But I don't
yes.
want to. It's my own mother-in-law just started that
Oh wow!
for
Wow.
ovarian cancer. She had a different
Mhm.
mutation, and one of my partners, the wonderful Dr. Laurie Frakes, put her on this pill after she got into a remission. So again, everyone knows someone, man, and I'm just
Yeah.
so happy to hear that your wife's doing well.
Yep, she's doing very well.
That's amazing. Give her my best.
Is it just the when's the last song? When's the last song that you did? Because I will tell you this. I went on tour with the band Metallica, and the most the most fascinating thing to me on that whole tour was this lady, this couple that I got to meet called Sarah and Pete. And when they would come to my shows, and I always see them and blah, blah, blah. And then I just started asking about their, like what's your story? Because they go to every show, every Metallica show, they go to shows. And I'm always curious, like what drives you to go to every single time this band plays? And long story short, she said, he was in war. He comes back, a lot of issues, and that's not even what did him in. What did him in was he had a motorcycle accident. And they said he was, and she gets choked up talking about it. And she goes, he was bedridden and he didn't want to live anymore. And it was really hard to keep his spirits up. And she said, she came home one day and he said, I want to go to the Metallica concert. And she went, what? I want to go. I heard Metallica's coming. And she's like, I haven't even heard a Metallica song. I did not grow up with Metallica and stuff like that. So she goes on to say that now he's got a brain condition where his brain was damaged, right? So every year or every couple months has to be tested or whatever they do. And so she brings it. It's the first time now he wants to sit up and he wants to try in a wheelchair, and he's got some life in him to get to the Metallica concert. They go to the Metallica concert, and now she's blown away of how many people are like, oh, let us help you. She thought, barbarians, pirates are showing up, Metallica. He's showing up like, oh, literally like a hospital bed. Oh my God. They get swarmed by people, and now they're like, you should come to the next show. Long story short, he's full of life from doing this. And right before COVID, I should get her on the show. Right before COVID, I remember her reaching out to me. She's like, Jim, you're not going to believe this. I don't know if I definitely still have the email, but she went, the doctor, and I really praise that the doctor thought of this, because I don't know trained doctors would think of something like this. She said for the first time ever, some of his brain cells were healing and recharging, where they were like, they're dead. There's absolutely no way they can come back. It's not going to happen. And the doctor was asking her, like, well, what have you guys been doing? She goes, we go to Metallica shows. Now, I'm not saying it's Metallica's music, but his love for it, to the point where they said, can we test this? Are you, because they were about to do a European tour, can we, like, put your head in things and
Functional
see
MRI.
do MRIs while you go to these concerts? And you may be really onto something here, where we're starting to heal muscles that have been dead or nerves that were killed. But then COVID hit, bang, didn't get to do it. They still follow, and I still follow her, and he's still thriving, and so is she. But the point of that is, it was all because of music and the love and the passion of the music. This guy went from, I'm not sure I want to live, it's going to end, and then bing, a song. I used to hear, like, John Lennon. He's got probably one of my all-time favorite quotes. Never underestimate the power of music. And that is, I think people do underestimate that. The power of music. Music is extremely powerful. As, like, for your instance, it has the power to possibly heal. It has the power to inspire your spirit, which your spirit then heals the rest of your body, and so on and so on. I listened to aggressive music when I was younger, but I tell people, if it wasn't for that, Jim would have been very violent teenager. He would have been a very violent, and I used to compare it to, when you see the Indians dancing around the fire, and they're screaming, and some people would think it's crazy, but I saw it as, wow, they're releasing it. It's
Huge release.
Yes, they're releasing their energy, the bad energy. They're letting it out. They're getting it all. They're flushing it all out.
You've got to release it. Let it go.
Yes, and those are, and then I went into a deeper realm of, that's why music is controlled. That's why, and then I started getting into this heavier. Whoa, that's why certain music now is only played because when you're able to control the power of music, you're able to control culture. And you're able to control the way people think. You're able to control their actions, and that is the power. But there's also the other power of enlightenment. And music. This is funny. So my mother-in-law is in town, and she loves classical music, right? So I'll sit there and I go, Ma, what? When we put classical music on, just, as we're sitting there having coffee, and she left. She was gone the other day, and I don't listen to classical music. And you ever see, like, I don't know, whether it be a movie or whatever, and you watch it and they're watching an opera, and then you see people in the audience crying, and I would go, that is the right. That's so stupid. Who's crying in an opera? I'm in my kitchen listening to classical music, and I don't know what song it was. It hit me. It brought out such deep visions and reflection. I was in my kitchen. I just started sobbing. My wife came over later. She's like, "What happened?" It was a song. And she's like, "What song?" I don't even know the name of it. It was I don't know. The violin kicked in and I was out. I was out for 10 minutes sobbing and thinking about the core of life and who are we and where do we go? Oh my gosh. You got all that. But yeah, it all goes back to never underestimate the power of music. Um, that's just so
Totally.
amazing of what you do.
I
So
love that, Jim. I love that.
it's
That's
wild, isn't
it.
it?
That is, I guess that's why I do it.
Even with my dad, I was gonna text even with my dad. When my dad, I started taking care of him, and as dementia came, I'd shower him, and I loved it. I absolutely loved every minute I could spend. But I would set up his favorite songs, and that was the first time in my life where he wasn't a talker. And who the hell was it? It was like Roy Acuff. This is like way Roy Acuff, and he starts this song about praying. I ain't seen nobody praying. I ain't seen no. It was about like an accident. Ain't they down at the phone that nobody prayed? And my dad starts singing to it, and he's like, "Nada. This is so again. Are you singing the praying song?" And here's a guy never talks to you. Went, "Well, when I was in boot camp before I went to World War II, a lot of the hillbillies would play this song, and oh boy, and he started. I had the conversations that came out of him were mind-boggling. He was listening to. And then I start testing songs. I put on Hank Williams, old Hank Williams song. There's a tear in my beer, and you go, yeah, Rosie, she put a tear in my beer. Why that bitch was like, and I just couldn't believe how alive he came and how much he enjoyed. And he forgot that he's getting dementia. He forgot that he's mortified that his son has to clean him and wipe his ass. It's an embarrassing, untalkable moment. And all that went away from the power of music. It's pretty amazing.
It's so amazing. I have a similar story, real quick.
Yeah.
My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and my mom and my aunt would take care of her, and I would come visit her. And she didn't remember hardly, she didn't remember me at all. But when I would sing, die, die, anu, die, die, anu, die, die, anu, die, anu, die, anu, die, anu, died, she would start clapping. She would wake up. It's an old Yiddish song. And she would start clapping. She would start connecting with me. And Grandma Faye was back for those moments. That was it, because music hits different brain centers than normal words do. And when I was in a horrible accident, riding my bike down the street and a car bashed into me and my head went through the windshield, I had expressive aphasia. I couldn't make the words come out, Jim.
Oh.
And this was 1983. My brain was so swollen, I almost died the first night in the ICU, but I survived, and I couldn't talk for weeks. My mom brought in my boom box and started bringing in Purple Rain by Prince. And I would listen to it, and the first words I said were like, purple rain. Like, those were the first things that made sense coming out of my mouth. And I eventually learned how to speak again. But that also reminded me of the power of music. Like, different brain centers light up. Like the Metallica guy, they might have hooked up his brain to an EEG, some kind of mobile EEG, electroencephalography, and monitored his brain waves during the shows. And even for Parkinson's, drumming is huge for Parkinson's. Drumming, ping pong, but drumming is huge. My partner had
Yeah.
it. He would go and do these huge, he would go to a Buddhist temple and do this amazing drumming. And he felt better after he would drum in a huge drum circle. And I'm just telling you, you're absolutely right. We underestimate the power of music.
Yeah.
And I'm just a tiny little cog in the wheel. But if someone's listening and they say, you know what, I'm going to try that. It's so important. It's so important. And you're onto something, man.
It also reminds me of the last time I was in Africa. I mean, I've seen it every time I go. I go to a lot. But there's two things. One is one of the most vivid times that I had is my best friend, my friend Jimmy Shaka that comes on here, my friend Larry, and we were in my backyard in New Jersey, and they're musicians. I can hum stuff, and then they'll start playing it. We also had this big Indian drum, huge, big drum. And I can play that almost like a bongo and find rhythms. And the next thing I know, it was bigger than that. It was, it was like this. It was a table drum. It was huge, like the boom, 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 like one of those drums. And it was like when you hit it, the boom, 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 boom. So, and we did this, like we'd even try, it just came out. It felt so good. I still remember that. But when I saw the Africans just start singing, like I would go and I'd see tribal people, and they would something would excite them, and they would just start singing. And then another one would start singing, and they were so happy, and they created such a unit. And there is a connection with one another. It's almost like getting to know each other as a friend. You share energies with one another. And I feel like that too just doesn't exist anymore, where people kind of think it's weird if you're just gonna start humming or singing lightly to yourself, or some people singing together. I can't put my finger on it, but they were so free about it. It really was beautiful to watch. And the sound, oh my God, it went right where they would sing from, just went right through me. It's a really interesting thing to explore in our culture that's been long gone, in a non-professional way. It's almost like, oh, if you're going to be a musician, you got to learn to be in a band, or you got to make money off it, or you got to be a session. Like, what are you going to do with music? Rather than we're just doing it to make myself feel good, and if someone else feels good.
That's it right there. You just nailed it. The first time I brought the guitar into the chemo room, I got some backward glances, man. But I had to I had to give it up. I had to give it up. I had to let it go, because I had an instinct that this could make people feel a little bit better. And after I was done, this was before the original songs. This was just, I'd come in and I would just play for 5 minutes during lunch. Yeah. And I would maybe just go around the room and ask them, like, hey, you know, what's your dog's name? And we'd do a lyric about their dog, Jed, or whatever. But it made them smile. And they said, for 5 minutes, I didn't feel like I was getting chemo. Right. I felt like I was just, in a little coffee shop. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, like that was the best thing that ever happened to me, get in this chemo room. And I had to give up the looking bad and not being perfect and not being a professional musician. And I was able to, over time, let it go and realize that the power of music is so strong and so vital that I can look bad and still make and not care. And
Mm.
I still do care. I mean, when people, who the hell is this guy? But no, but
Yeah.
I had to let it go, and it's connecting with people, and they love it. And to this
Amazing.
day, patients still come up to me. I remember when you came over and played that song, and the last song was probably a few months ago, and they just come naturally. They just sort of happen naturally. Maybe someone asked for one or not, but it just happens. It just sort of happens in the conversation when that connection's there. Much like one of your specialties is the way you can connect, and it's just a huge thing that music facilitates. One of the
Really
biggest ways to connect to another human being is a shared laughter, a shared bit of
Yes.
laughter, and a
Yeah.
shared bit of listening to music together or creating
Yes.
music together in any capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to be honest with you. Like, one of the things that stick out with me the most were jams that I would have with my friend Jimmy and Larry. At that time, my friend Paul, and we would tour doing, I'm doing stand up and storytelling, but I'd always go, let's go to sound check and let's just jam. And there, to this day, we have so many jams that we would go in Jimmy Shaka's basement. We call it Willie's basement. I remember them more than any other stand-up routines, more than most of my time on Saturday Night Live. None of that. I can tell you the moment.
Breuer.
Yeah, I can tell you the moment. I'm like, oh my God, when we came up with this moment and that riff and this hook, that felt so good. Didn't I feel good? Didn't I feel good just now? It's really fun. We might have to have a big jam one day. We'll have to have a big happy jam. So obviously you're still practicing, doctor.
Full time,
You're
man.
full time in San Diego.
San Diego, Southern Cal.
So people find you. Well, unfortunately, we don't want people to find you, but if they have to find you, is there a particular cancer? Because that's another thing that I learned was, people go to my wife or they go to me like, how did your wife beat it? Or how is your wife sustained? We're going to an oncologist, and we'd always say, well, whatever your cancer is, why don't you investigate who's the best in that particular cancer?
That's
it. Yeah.
Because 200 different diseases, and you go to a big cancer center, like for example, Moffitt is in Florida, is a
Right.
big great cancer center, University of Miami. Out here we have UCSD, UCLA. I'm part of a practice called C-Care, which we're the largest private practice of oncology in all of California. So it's crazy, and it's cool because we can, we give a lot of personalized care, and we do it from the heart. But I personally see a lot of breast cancer patients, and they have a special place in my heart. Both my grandmothers had it, and my mother-in-law had it, and her mother had it. Thank God my wife doesn't. Thank God.
Right.
Knock on wood. But what I'm saying is, you have to find a doctor that you can connect with, that, yes, the best in their field, but the best for you too.
Right.
That communicates to you and that connects with you.
Right.
Because I believe that that's part of the journey, that it's
100%.
part of, that relationship can be healing too. And that's all that the songs really are, is just a way to connect, a way to learn about a human being. Your song would take us on a crazy journey from Metallica to
Right.
all kinds of stuff, and to the Breuniverse. But
yes,
you know what I'm saying?
yes, I do.
It could be anything. It's for anybody, anywhere, anytime. and it's just about what comes up naturally in the relationship, and it can be a healing thing, and the power of music should never be underestimated. Just like you said, just like John Lennon said,
It's
and
beautiful. Well,
whether it's a didgeridoo or a guitar.
I love that you have a didgeridoo. I love that you have a didgeridoo. I used to love going in my basement because my wife wouldn't let me play it upstairs. It's there you go. And people think this is easy. It's not easy. There's a whole method to this.
I'm going to say Jim Breuer. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
So
It was a pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
It was a pleasure having you today, man. I hope I like the direction that you're bringing. I hope a lot of people find you if they're in need. It seems like you really are. I've met a lot of doctors in my lifetime. You definitely have.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait, no, but you have a drive for that personal touch, and that's really hard. They all say that, but there's always just I really care about you, but there's still that resistance. It seems like you really give yourself up, and anyone that's going to be singing songs to lift their spirits, you're already thinking out of the box. So where can people find you? You're strictly doctor. Are you at what specific place can they find you?
They can
Dr.
find me
Steve.
at ccare.com or drsteven.com, Dr. Steven with a V, or just 2C's. ccare.com is the name of the practice. But what's most important is that if you're out there listening and you're going through it, you find someone who you connect with, that you can love as a human being and can love you back as a human being, as a brother, as a sister, as an uncle, as an aunt, as a mother. That's who you want to be with. And I just appreciate being here and appreciate the Breuniverse. You're bringing such love to the world, and
Thank you.
it's great.
I'm trying.
I'm happy to be part of the Breuniverse, man.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I wish you the best, brother. And we'll have to get together and do a tune and make someone feel good.
Done.
Safe journeys to you, Dr. Steven Eisenberg, co-founder of C-Care. So hopefully you'll never have to see him. But
I hope I never meet you out there. But if everyone knows somebody.
That's right. But just in case, if you do, you can get his book, Love is the Strongest Medicine, that he put together. So you get that book, and perhaps that'll help you out as well. Hey, man, thanks for hanging out on the podcast today. We'll catch up with you another time, and back to work, I guess. How we going?
Thank you so much for having me.
I do believe, even when the first time I saw Patch Adams, that was such a good seed that was planted. And the first time I really did hear John Lennon say, never underestimate the power of music, I really didn't understand it. But as I got older and you see it, it's very powerful. So when you get cancer, it's the worst. Everyone immediately thinks death. That's what they think. They immediately, just like Dr. Steven was saying, they just go right to fear and, oh my God, am I going to die? That's usually where they go. So it is really important. We went through a bunch of people before we found people that we were comfortable with. And even that. So my wife's a different case. She then was stage 4. Can't do anything. She had to go on a trial. It's another whole story. She's fine now. But I would think the magnitude of going in and you have a doctor like a Dr. Steven who comes in and takes that deep time to actually sit and write a personalized song just because he knows it's going to nourish your soul is all that we can ask in our existence in whatever we have left in this time. It's a really beautiful thing. I really enjoyed talking with him today, and I really think we should get some jam going. Maybe when we go into California, we got to get Dr. Steven. We got to get Jimmy. We got to get maybe Joe Sib. And we'll get something going. There's just way too much music here. So, like John Lennon said, never underestimate the power of music. And I don't even like saying the names. You know, my other favorite quote is, and I don't like saying the name because some people will judge the name. I'm a strong believer. We don't need to know who said it. One person can change the world for the better as long as they don't give a damn who gets the credit. That's one of the greatest quotes that have helped me tremendously in my lifetime. One person could change the world for the better as long as they don't give a damn who gets the credit. Because the way I see that, then you're not honestly out there to change the world for the better if you're waiting for the credit. It's a very difficult thing to do. A lot of people struggle with that. I was the one that, helped her, and I was the one. And if you truly mean it, you just do it. So there you go. Have a good one. We wish you all the best. Make sure you write in and tell us your tales, what you think, and your comments and all that. JimBreuer.com. Leave your voice messages. If you hit me up, DM me on Instagram, most likely I'll get back to you. It all depends what you write. And don't waste your time with negative thoughts. If you don't like something or you don't like me or whatever, just go on to the next page. Why would you sit and waste your energy to write something negative or whatever? You're demeaning your existence. You really are. You're just demeaning your own energy. Lift it up. Be better. Join the happiness. All we are saying. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next time on the Breuniverse. So I'm working on a thing called gene therapy, which is my good friend Gene. And if you have an issue and you want Gene to give you his way of therapy, gene therapy, send in your voicemail. Just go to jimbreuer.com, and then we know if you made it that far, you really wanted to hear some therapy. Should be good. We'll let you know when we're ready to roll with that. Gene therapy. Send in your concerns or where you need help.
Keep the show rolling. Don't let me know that something's bad, because I pick up on that right away. Oh no, we're going down, and it'll look good.